But before we start with our discussion, I will call anybody, then I will project a quiz. Okay? Open ko muna. Just to, may nagasulod. Sige, to set our discussion, so let us have a pre-test, sort of pre-test. So I will call anybody and please give me your answer. So don't be shy. So just give your answer and then we will try to see if your answer is correct. By the way, before we do that, what are your expectations for this microbiology? Verdel Abakahin,
Yes po, ma'am.
what are your expectations? What do you intend to learn in micro?
Nasa na ma-recall pa rin namin naman na napag-aralan namin ng mga concepts sa microbiology in no mga dumaan na year.
So, ma-recall. So we will know that in your pre-test later. What about Ehan Santos Sheila?
Good evening po, ma'am. Ganun din po, ma'am, ma-recall ang katong mga gitundo sa first sem, second year po na microbiome.
Ma-recall. What about Nathan? Yes.
Ano lang, ma'am, I hope lang na kasi nakakaimatag na mga mnemonics para sa amin na magamit para mas madalian nila.
Mnemonics. Pero ko anang sa micro kaayo nga mnemonics. But the bottom line is you really have to understand and memorize. So, dili jud pwede na di mo mag-memorize. But and masabtan ninyo ang concept gani, ang daloy sa discussion. Like, lalo na you have to know na bacteria ba yun na siya, virus ba yun na siya, fungi ba yun na siya, mga ana gani. Because the problem is not with you, but like very common knowledge in microbiology. And when I asked the students, because we had our oral exam in the graduating, ginawa din sila na recall, mali ang answer. Kay oral man, they have to give answer. So I hope na you can ask question, you can raise hands while in discussion, and you can ask question. Okay? Sige. So let us start. Share kog screen. Naka full screen na sa inyo, ha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hala, saan ako ano yung pagtawag? Dali lang. Dali lang. Okay, Mr. Gabayan. Gabayan, Simon? Okay. Question. which is considered an obligate intracellular parasite among these microorganisms. What's your answer, Simon? You give me your answer and later you will know. I will give you the answer right away if wrong or tama, and then in the discussion, these are included in the discussion. So what's your answer, Simon? Huh? Virus? Okay, correct. Please answer without looking at anything because that will test your memory. Ayaw sa mo. I'll give you pila ka seconds, then you have to answer. Okay? Next, unahon. Cherry. Okay, question. Which of the following is an opportunistic pathogen? Answer, unahon.
Which of the following is an opportunistic pathogen? First one is A po, ma'am.
A, wrong. The answer is B, Candida albicans. Itimanin na inyong mga answer, ha? Okay na mag-off cam kung data. Basta data ra gyud, ha? Zakaria.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, question. A protozoa that has hair-like structures used for movement.
A, ma'am.
A, your answer is A? Okay, correct answer is C. Okay? It's ciliates. Diba cilia? Ang amoeba, wala siyang hair-like structure. No definitive shape lang siya, but it does not have extensions, just like your cilia. Okay, next. Luna.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, question. Which is an example of a pleomorphic organism?
Which of the following? Letter A po.
Letter A or A?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, correct. Solania. What contributes to the selective permeability characteristic of a bacterial cell? Solania,
Yes po, ma'am.
what's your answer?
Ano po? Selective permeability. Ano po? D po.
You tell me the answer and not just the letter. What's your answer?
Membrane po, ma'am.
Okay, correct. Next to answer. Banyaga. This contributes to the pathogenicity of gram-negative bacteria. Banyaga?
Contribute to the pathogen.
What's your answer? Sir Banyaga?
Letter C po, corpuscularides.
Okay, the correct answer is letter B. It's lipid A. Okay? Sige. Rampak.
Yes,
Rampak? Okay. Question. These are transmembrane proteins that allow diffusion of small hydrophilic molecules. What's your answer?
A, ma'am.
Plasmids? The answer is porins. Okay, timanig because maapila sa discussion later. Escalona.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the major virulence factor in bacteria?
One, ma'am. B, membrane.
Okay, answer is capsule. Dalagan. Dalagan, Kayla?
Yes, ma'am.
An external structure of bacteria that acts as a barrier.
Flagella.
I am asking Miss Dalagan. What's your answer, Dalagan?
Flagella po, ma'am.
Incorrect. Answer is capsule. Okay? Bukalon.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. Question. Bacteria divides at a constant and maximal rate. Kung sa nga phase na.
Letter B po, ma'am, log phase.
Okay, correct. Ipil.
Yes po, ma'am.
Question. The genome of a bacteria is composed of a single chromosome. True or false?
True po.
Okay, true. Correct. Padua.
Yes, ma'am.
Question. The process of copying the DNA sequence into an RNA molecule to produce protein.
Replication, ma'am? Or duplication?
No, the answer is transcription. Okay. Ochave.
Yes po, ma'am.
Question. It is a one-way transfer of genetic material from a donor cell to a recipient cell through the use of a sex pilus or sex pili.
Conjugation po, ma'am.
Okay, correct. Royo.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, question. A protein coat that packages the nucleic acid genome of a virus particle.
Capsid po, ma'am.
Okay, correct. And Haliores.
Yes po, ma'am.
An infection occurring at regular frequency.
Pandemic po. B.
Regular frequency. Your answer is pandemic.
A, ma'am, epidemic.
Okay, correct answer is endemic. Endemic. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop sharing this one. Okay, so there were 15 questions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 ang tama na sagot. Yung iba siguro nakalimot or whatever. So at least, no? Okay, makuyawan tag 7. Kulang na gyapon sa 1/2. No? Kulang. Sige. Okay. Ayan. Micro. Okay. This is recorded. Why are you asking? Huh? Class, I want you to listen and you take your notes. Di ba, gibigay ko naman meron po chance mag-makeup ang wala kasagot. It's not counted again sa inyo itong inyong answer. It was just a pre-test. Simple recall lang to. So, wala yung point, ha? So, gusto ko lang at least you answer. Yung hindi tinawag, nag-answer kayo, I hope you answer in your own and then you have to know if tama ba kayo or hindi. Right? Now, please, di ba, sinabi ko, I gave you all the materials and then I hope that it is with you and then you can add notes to the things that I have given sa Quipper. Okay? Sige. So let us start. Kita nyo na?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Okay, so our review now is microbiology and parasitology. So it is, when you speak of micro, so it refers to minute organisms. Bio is life and logos is study. So it is the study of microorganisms. And parasitology is the study of parasites. We will include them later. What are the parasites that infect, not infect, but in affecting men, no? Okay. So let us have a brief history before we tawag ani. So brief history of kanang micro, no, to set our tone. So in 1665, Robert Hooke discovered the cell theory. So in the cell theory, it is stated that all living organisms are composed of cells. And 3 years later, Francisco Redi begin the experimental science, no? So ano niya tawag ani. So when you speak of kesa una man good, people will all just assume not undergoing experiment. So si Reddy, so I think it's kailangan ma-experiment para alam kung tama ba or hindi. And in 1673, Anton van Leeuwenhoek was the first person who observed microbes under his simple microscope. So, di ba siya ang nakakita sa microbes? Now, Leeuwenhoek was a lens grinder. So, tagahimo siya og lens. Mura ba ka nang mapahimo kag antipara ron, di ba? Naaman ay sila ang mag-grind sa lens para naigrado. So, muna yung trabaho sa una. And because of that work, so naa siya yung mga lens. So he made a very crude lens, no? Nga kanang malilian lang niya, and out of curiosity, so nagkuha siya tubig from the pan, so iyang gitanaw, and he noticed that there were something moving in that water na iyang gitanaw sa microscope. And because it was moving, he named it animalcules. Muna ang gipangalan ni Leeuwenhoek, animalcules. But later, it was found out that it was microorganism. And then in 1796, so 123 years after, no, dugay kayo ang development sa una, no? Now, bakit after Leeuwenhoek, bakit walang na-record na development or milestone in the area of microscopy? It was because Leeuwenhoek was hung, no? So nahang siya because he was accused of something and he was hung. So after that, wala na. So 1796, Edward Jenner was the first person who started vaccination. No? From the word vaccination, kasi nga vacca, because the first vaccine was for cowpox or smallpox. So yan. Then 1840s, Ignaz Semmelweis was the first person who introduced the hand disinfection nga naman. Because during that time, ang mga doktor, when they attended kanang a mother who is delivering her infant, her baby rather, dili sila nagahugas og gamot, and because of that, many mother died and even babies died because of that, because of the infection. So it was Ignaz Semmelweis who said na we have to wash hands before we attend to the patient. So because of that, na lessen ang kanang incidence of kanang puerperal death, meaning namatay due to childbirth. And then in 1861, Louis Pasteur. So ang iyang contribution was pasteurization, meaning kung naakay substance, like for example, milk or even wine, so imo siyang i-subject into heating at a specified temperature, dili ipa-boil ha, ipa-heat lang, for the purpose of killing the bacteria that will cause spoilage to the food. Muna ang pasteurization. I think you can read mga pasteurized milk. No, pasteurized milk is kanang lalo na yung mga liquid milk, so pasteurized. So that is in honor of Louis Pasteur from his name pasteurization. Because sa una, kung naakay wine, pag like nag-collect kag wine from the grapes, i-travel nimo na siya. Pag abot dito sa lugar, like naabot og hapon, dili na siya wine, suka na siya. Because there are organisms that act on the sugar and convert it to become acetic acid. So, it was pasteurization that kanang prevented the wine from becoming vinegar, no? Because wine is by nature, ang wine is kanang sugar, right? So, subject nila into a certain temperature, i-heat, para mamatay itong mga microorganism. And Joseph Lister, in 1860s, ang iyahang kaning ang iyahang contribution is the use of phenol for surgery. No? So the first antiseptic was phenol. But today we know phenol is caustic, no? Makakos og kanang irritation. But before, gigamit na siya as antiseptic. So si Joseph Lister. Which among those history I told you na inyong na-remember? Anyone? Ha? Kirubin? Asa dito sa akong gidiscuss nga history ang na-remember ninyo sa inyong micro?
Yung hand disinfection po, ma'am.
What about the rest?
Yung pasteurization, like,
Oh, ano pa?
mga 3 lang po.
Si Pasteur, kung makalimot pa mo ni Pasteur, because of Lister is phenol, so dapat hindi niyo nakalimutan. Okay? Sige. So there was a transition period because people during those times, 1600s, believe in the theory of spontaneous generation. And this was not founded, but this theory was based on Aristotle, no? Aristotle is the philosopher. And sa una, because 1600s, 1500s, so they believe of spontaneous generation. So what is spontaneous generation? It is the idea that living organisms arise from non-living matter. So meaning, ang living gikan sa non-living. But we all know that that is not true. So si Pasteur, gi-counteract niya kana na theory by the theory of biogenesis, meaning living organisms can only arise from pre-existing life, meaning we cannot produce something that is alive from something that is not alive. So yun, so there was this there was this battle of ilahang mga beliefs, no? Si Aristotle and si Pasteur. Okay. Yan. And then there was this, by the way, in the spontaneous generation, ang reason daw nga no ang living organism pwede magikan sa non-living because of the vital force that forms life. So there is what they call a vital force that will enable a non-living thing to produce a living thing. No? So muna siya diha. Okay. Now, Robert, what is Koch's disease? Anyone? Raise your hand. What is Koch's disease from the apelyido ni Robert Koch? Unsa na siya? Anybody? Gang, mugawas ko na sa board exam usahay ni si Robert Koch. Ay si Koch's disease. Anong dili man mo maningog? Anong dili ano inyo ramang i-message sa ko?
Metabolic
disorder, ma'am.
Ha?
Metabolic disorder.
No?
Like,
Tuberculosis, ma'am.
Okay, tuberculosis. I will not accept an answer in the chat. You tell me the answer. So, Koch disease is tuberculosis. What is the causative organism of tuberculosis? Anybody, you raise your hand and we'll call your name. Yes, Castillon?
Mycobacterium tuberculosis, ma'am.
Okay, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. What type of bacteria is Mycobacterium tuberculosis? Anyone? Yes, Christian?
Gram-negative ata, ma'am.
No, it's not gram-negative.
Ay, positive din.
Dili po siya positive, Christian.
Basta da-
Anyone? Sige, raise your hand and I will call you. Review ba yan eh? Na-take up naman ninyo eh. Nakalimot lang mo. Sige, unsa? Unsa nga type of organism si Mycobacterium? Yes, Kablinda?
Rod-like po, ma'am.
But what is the type? It's not gram-negative, it's not gram-positive. Sino bang nag-raise ng hands? Manganop.
Bacillus po, ma'am.
Yeah, the shape. Ang morphology niya is a bacilli, rod shape. But I am asking what type of bacteria is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Anyone? Sige, recall your micro.
Recording in progress.
Anyone? Ano bang nag-raise? Yes, Flores, Mr. Flores?
Dili ko sure ma'am, acid fast po.
Okay, correct. Acid fast bacteria. Your Mycobacterium are acid fast bacteria. Okay? Sige. So ano itong contribution ni Robert Koch? So he was the one who suggested the germ theory of disease. Unsa man ni siya, pasabot that a certain disease is caused by a specific germ or microorganism. So ang infection, ang disease is caused by a specific type of organism. Muna ang iyang germ theory. Kung wala kung microorganism, wala ang disease. Okay. And then he also developed the Koch's postulates, no? So we will not go, ang procedure lang on how to identify a specific bacteria that can cause an infection. So Koch's postulates. Then he developed the pure culture technique. So, di ba? Like when we isolate specific bacteria or microorganism from a Petri plate, we have to have a pure culture before we can fish out, if you remember, your bacteria, because malay natin may contamination. So, we need to get only what we want. Like, kung E. coli lang, dapat E. coli lang at mahimo. And you have to culture it muna until pure culture na imuhang mahimo. So, these are just some of the contributions of Robert Koch. Marami pa. No? But do not forget Koch's disease is tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, acid fast. So, in 1910, so in the 20th century, so no, Paul Ehrlich, no, mga history pa ta ha, Paul Ehrlich is the one who discovered salvarsan. So this is a compound, a chemical that was used to treat syphilis. Okay, kinsa sa inyo makastel what is the causative organism of syphilis? Anyone?
Ako, ma'am, try. Treponema pallidum,
Sino?
ma'am. Christian po.
Okay, Treponema pallidum, correct. So, Treponema pallidum. Pag race, bughan na kay di na ko makita mo mo nag-race. Except kung ingon lang ha, kay para ano. Di mo gawas mo siya nag-share ko screen. So, Treponema pallidum. What type, what is the morphology of your Treponema pallidum? O, Kablinda, you're raising your hand. What is the morphology of
Ma'am,
Treponema
it's
pallidum?
kanamrad, sige ng second, silik po, ma'am, nag-gram negative po.
Ha? Morphology akong ipanaga. What's your answer? Ciencia? Tensya?
Helical shape po, ma'am.
What do we that? How do we call that? It's not helical, but it's what? Parang spiral? And how do we call that one? Scalona?
Spirochete, ma'am.
Okay, spirochete. Okay, spirochete. So it's a spirochete. Ha? Kanang treponema. In 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, the first antibiotic. What type of microorganism galing si penicillin? Anyone? Raise your hand. Type of microorganism kinuha galing, yes, Christian?
Fungi, ma'am.
Yes, it's a fungi. Okay, another person, see what is the name of that fungi? Del Rosario, manawag ko, kaya di mo manawag. Kanang wa pa ka-answer. Si Atienza, naka-answer naman. Si Kablinda, man naman. Si Luna, isa pa. Isa to kong gitawag. Del Rosario. Paila.
Ascomycetos po.
Ha?
Ascomycetos.
No. Ano ang pangalan ng fungi kung saan kinuha si penicillin? Agad. Agad?
Hello, ma'am. Madungan
Yes.
po, ma'am.
Oo.
Try lang po, Penicillium chrysogenum.
Penicillium is correct, but your species is wrong. Sa padre.
Ruben.
No. Agad.
Ay,
Penicillium what?
Penicillium Ruben, something, ma'am. Or
No.
mali
No,
lang
it's
po.
not. Sino? Penicillium what? Ano ang kanyang apelyido?
Penicillum chrysogenum po, ma'am.
No, it's not.
Naljuven.
Ayores?
Penicillium mold po, ma'am.
No, again. Unahon?
Penicillium naljuvens, ma'am. Naljuven.
No. No. Asa man mo nang waan na? Asam ay. Unsa pa? Uy, gikalimutan ninyo ni si penicillium. Asa mo mga anak penicillium? Atong first jud nga gikuha ni Fleming. Penicillium what? Yes, mga anop.
Rubrum po, ma'am.
No, it's not.
Last na lang, ma'am, notatum.
Notatum. Nanuwa man mo kabaluan na. Ha? Why am I asking this? Because in the sa tawag ani oral exam, no, sa mga graduating, gipangutanan ni kay bunot-bunot sila ang student ka nabilong sa ako ang group. Wa jud siya kabalo asa, wa siya ka-answer penicillium notatum, di ka masuko. So penicillium notatum, that's the name of the fungi wherein Alexander Fleming was able to extract penicillin. Kaya nga, the name of the fungi is Penicillium notatum. That's why he named it penicillin. Now, Alexander Fleming discovered this by accident, meaning by chance, by serendipity. Wa niya gituyo. Because he was working on fungi. Okay, in 1930s, sulfonamide synthesis happened. So sulfonamide is the first sulfa drug. Sulfanilamide, no? So muna siya sulfonamide synthesis. And this was used as antibacterial against bacteria. So sulfonamides ngayon, we no longer use this type of but before we use. Then another milestone in the 20th century or in the 1900s until the end, no, is the recombinant DNA technology. This is the genetic engineering. Now, ang pinakagamit ni recombinant DNA technology is the use of this technology to produce insulin. So, ang insulin karon na ginahatag sa mga pasyente is produced through recombinant DNA technology. What is the name of the bacteria that is being used to produce penicillin? Anyone? Yes, Luna.
Po, ma'am.
What's your answer?
Insulin po.
No, I am asking unsay ngalan sa bacteria. Kung asa this bacteria is used, this bacteria ang ginagamit through recombinant DNA. Yes, Diamond Archie. Archie Diamond, sorry. What's your answer?
Try lang po. E. coli po.
Okay, E. coli. So E. coli is being used to produce insulin through recombinant DNA technology. So, sa una man good pancreas sa baboy, pancreas sa unsang animal. So, kung kuhaan na pancreas, patay ang baboy, ano pancreas, dugay kay ang kuan, ang kanang production. But today is recombinant. But we'll not go into the detail of that. Okay. So, that was just a brief history, no, sa ato ang tawag ani. So microbiology is the study of microorganisms. So large and diverse group of microscopic organisms that exist as a single cell or cluster cell. So microorganisms, they are unicellular, no? Mga bacteria. But there are some na dili po uni. So what are these microorganisms? You have archaea, bacteria, protozoa, algae, fungi, and acellular entities, viruses, and prions. Now, ang archaea is considered to be an ancient type of microorganism, no? So, ancient siya because long before, millions of years ago, na-discover na siya, no? I mean, they existed daw, no? Ang archaea. Then, bacteria and everything. Kaning mga acellular entities, your virus and prions, meaning acellular, dili sila considered cell, but they are microorganisms in the sense na they can infect disease, pero dili sila living. Meaning, wala sila life on its own. They have no machinery on its own. So later, discuss na nato. So mga virus, no? But when I was in college, the virus is still considered cell. Even in high school na ko, cell pa na. But today, it's no longer a cell. It's a cellular, meaning it is not alive, it is not living. So these are the classification of a microorganism. So na ay cellular, na ay acellular. So sa cellular, na ay pro and eukaryotes. Sa prokaryotes, ang archaea and bacteria lang yun. Ang eukaryotes, algae, protozoa, fungi. And then yung acellular na. Now, tayo as a human person, what type of cell meron tayo? Is it a pro or a eukaryote?
Eukaryote po.
Okay, we belong to the eukaryotic. So we are made up of eukaryotic cell. So if you're going to compare eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, so these are the comparisons. So meron tayong characteristics. So ang form, so ang eukaryotes, multicellular, meaning one organism is made up of more than one cell. Tayo, we are made up of trillion number of cells. Ang prokaryotes naman, one microorganism is made up of one cell, single cell. With regards to the nucleus, ang mga eukaryotes na ay nuclear membrane. So ang atong nucleus na siya covering. Ang prokaryotes wala. Ang DNA sa ilahang cell is in direct contact with the cytoplasm or the liquid portion of the cell. Tayo merong organelles. Our organelles, we have mitochondria, we have lysosomes, we have Golgi apparatus or Golgi bodies, di ba? Yung prokaryotes, wala silang organelles. They do not have those things I mentioned. Ang sterols, meron tayo. Kaya nga, ang fungi belongs sa eukaryotic cell. It is the sterol, no? That pare-pareha siya sa human cell. Kaya medyo mahirap i-treat si fungi if it affects another eukaryotic organism just like us. So sa prokaryotes naman, mycoplasma lang ang merong sterols, but the rest wala. Ribosomes, you have 80S. 40 plus 60. I don't know bakit naging 80 yan. Ang 70S, 30 plus 50. No? So, overlap. Cell wall, we do not have cell wall, but cellulose and chitin, meron ang mga fungi, kaya nga nalagay dyan. Yung prokaryotic, yung mga bacteria, merong peptidoglycan, its layer. That's what makes up the cell wall of your bacteria, your peptidoglycan layer. Mitosis, meaning we divide equally into, ang mitosis is the cell division wherein ang genetic material, no, meaning ang nucleus is maghimo sa duha ka nucleus then mag-divide ang cell so that both cells contain the same genetic material. Ang sa prokaryotes naman, they just divide by binary fission, meaning they divide into two, always into two daughter cells, duha. One cell will always divide into two. Binary fission. So, tungaon na niya yung kaugalingon. So, that's it. So, this is a kanang representation of a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic cell. So, if you notice, ito ang prokaryotic. Wala siyang organelles. So, meron siyang cytoplasm. That's the liquid component of the cell. May nucleoid siya. So, ito siya, gilagay nila lahat. Pero hindi lahat ng cell merong flagella. Depende sa cell. So, some prokaryotic cells have flagella. Flagella is isa lang or pwedeng daghan. Meron din silang mga pilay. Sex pilos, yung na-mention natin kanina sa pre-test. Meron silang capsule, the outermost layer, followed by the cell wall, and the cytoplasmic membrane. So, tatlong layer nila. Ang kanang capsule, depende po na siya sa bacteria, no? and ribosomes because this is needed for protein synthesis. On the other hand, this is our eukaryotic or animal cell. If you can see, if we dissect, no, yung ano ito makita, colorful kayo siya, but in reality, the cell is not colored, ha? So, pero para mas ma-appreciate natin, ginakoloran. So, lahat ng nakikita niyo dyan, these are the organelles. So, ito siya, si Golgi apparatus. Mitochondrion, mitochondrion. Okay? So, ito si, yung mga ganyan, that is your endoplasmic reticulum. Di ba? Endoplasmic reticulum. May rough, may smooth, plasma membrane. So, yan. Golgi apparatus, nucleus, nucleolus. So, yan. These are the the difference between a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So, let's go to the prokaryotes. So, ang prokaryotes, ang prokaryotes are one circular chromosome, contains one circular chromosome, not membrane bound, wala siyang histones, no organelles. Ang kanyang cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan and it divides by binary fission. Now, what is a histone? A histone is a basic protein found only in eukaryotic cell. And this histone pack and order the DNA into structural units called nucleosomes. So, muna si histone. So, wala ingon ana ang prokaryotes. Okay? So, yan. Then we have the archaea. Diba? Ito ang sabi ko, under the prokaryotes, so orange prokaryotes. Under prokaryotes tayo have archaea. So, genetically, more closely related sila sa eukaryotes and they are to bacteria. But, nga bacteria ni siya, pero dili gid siya eukaryotic, no? Prokaryotic siya. They can vary in shape. Wala silang peptidoglycan sa cell wall. So, yan ang difference nila with bacteria. They do not have peptidoglycan in their cell walls. Many but not all are extremophiles. So, when you speak of extremophile, they can live in extreme environment. Very hot or very cold. No? Mo na ilahang mapuy-an. So like acidophiles, meaning they can live in acidic environment, in alkalinophiles. So these are archaea that can live in a very basic environment. Thermophiles is katong grabe na ang init and so on and so forth. So mo na sila. So extremes, no? Extremes of environment. Ang uban ganing archaea, you can only find them in the bottom of the ocean, no? Sa seabed or sa mga volcanoes na kanang dito na dyan sa sulod daw. So just imagine, no? They can live extremes of temperature, mga thermophiles. Another prokaryotic cell is your bacteria. So bacteria is the most common of the prokaryotic cell. And of all the diseases, infections that are present, most of these infections are caused by bacteria. Meron namang iba, fungi, virus, but most of the infections are caused by bacteria. So bacteria are unicellular, meaning one bacteria, one organism, one cell. They divide by binary fission. So ano yung binary fission? Sabi ko, they just divide into two. Then meron silang peptidoglycan cell wall. And ang ilang size range from 0.2 to 1.0 micrometer hanggang 2 to 8 micrometer. So the smallest is 0.2, then 1.8 micro ang pinakamalaki. Now, this picture here, what type of bacteria is this? How do we call this bacteria? Anyone? Hala, wala na nag-turn on. Okay lang mag-turn on mo sa inyong camera, but please, I hope you are listening.
Excuse me, ma'am. Oxay po.
Yes, but what specific. Yes, na ay nag-raise kanina nauna nawala lagi ang nag-raise hands. Si Nathan ang nauna. Yes, Nathan?
Streptococci po, ma'am.
Okay, streptococci. Ang streptococci, these are bacteria that is in the form of a chain. Isa lang. Mura silang kadena. Yeah, that is a streptococci. So, if you're going to dissect a bacteria, muna ito makitaan inside a bacteria. So, these are its what? Parts ng bacteria. Okay? So, meron siyang mga pili, spore, mesosomes, RNA. So, lahat ng ito. No? So, typical bacterial cell structure. So, this is what we can find. Cell wall, capsule, cytoplasmic membrane, yan. Spore, so typical. No? Yung muna ito makita. Now, with regards to the shape and arrangement of bacteria, so we have cocci. So cocci, they are spherical or round, and they can exist in chain or streptococcus. If they appear in pairs or dalawa, they are diplococci. And example of this is your Neisseria gonorrhea. It is a diplo, so always in pairs. They cannot live alone, always in pairs. And if they are in clusters, like your grapes, so they are Staphylococcus, mga species. Staphylococcus aureus, yung mga ganyan. Another shape is bacilli. This is the rod shape or cylindrical. So bacteria which has a cylindrical shape are Pseudomonas, your Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and your Escherichia coli or your E. coli. Mga bacilli, mga rod shape. And your Coccobacilli, so a combination. Short, rounded rod. So di po sila rod, di po sila cocci, but in between. So you have your Haemophilus, like your Haemophilus influenzae. Ang mga example. And then another, ay kanina yung spirochetes and spirilla. So helical, like corkscrew. So your Treponema pallidum, which is the causative organism of syphilis. Do not forget, no syphilis. Vibrios naman are coma rod shape. So rod shape siya kaya lang nakabaluktot na rod, ana pa. Diba ang rod shape is kanang muralag cylindrical. Ang siya naka-bend, parang half moon. So coma shape rods. So these are your vibrios, your vibrio cholera. And then pleomorphic. So ang pleomorphic, they do not have fixed form. So they can exist in varied forms like your Legionella, your Corynebacterium. Diba? Some of the question kanina, which of them is a pleomorphic bacteria? And the answer was Corynebacterium. Okay, diphtheria. So that is the shape and arrangement of bacteria. So from this one to this one. So yan. So ganito. So Staphylococcus in grapes. So this one Streptococcus pneumoniae, Streptococcus pyogenes. No? Then we have Bacillus anthracis. This is rod shape. Haemophilus. And this one, Haemophilus is, di ba, wala siyang, asa si Haemophilus na bilong? Coccobacilli. So, di ba, dili siya lingin, hindi po siya rad. So, Coccobacilli. Then, Vibrio cholerae, your coma, no, naka-bend na rad. And your Borrelia burgdorferi. So, mura lang siya og kanang string, no? Curve or spiral. So, with the color, so gram-positive, lahat ng ito gram-positive, and these are the gram-negative, Haemophilus, Vibrio, and your Borrelia. Okay. Next is, ano naman yung cytoplasm ng mga prokaryotic cell? Okay. So the cytoplasm or the liquid portion of the cell of a prokaryotic cell is viscous, meaning pilit-pilit, aqueous suspension of proteins, nucleic acid, dissolved organic compounds, mineral salts. So, muna ang naa sa iyang liquid portion. And also, in that area, merong enzymes and storage granules. So, mura siya bed of water wherein everything is there. So that's the cytoplasm of your bacteria or prokaryotes. Ano naman yung mga cytoplasmic structures na nandun? So we have ribosomes. So these are sites of protein synthesis, so specifically the 70F. So they are targets for antibacterial therapy. So tayo, if we make drugs, and di ba na mechanism of action ang mga drugs? In the second part of our discussion, we will discuss katong mga antibiotics, no, mga ato kong gihatag sa inyo sa paper. So like when we make drugs, we make it a point na ang i-target sa drugs is the ribosomes of the bacteria. So, kung atakihon sa ato ang drug, ang ribosome sa bacteria, so the bacteria can no longer synthesize proteins na kailangan niya in order to survive. And because of this, so that is one of the targets of our antibacterial therapies, to kill the bacteria. Another structure is your chromosome. So if you notice, butangan dyan natong bacterial kay naapod tayo ribosomes. Kung ang chromosome naapod tayo chromosome, so to be specific, bacterial. It is a single double-stranded circular molecule. Plasmids. So ito mga plasmids. Plasmids are small circular extra-chromosomal DNA. So when we speak of extra-chromosomal, meaning outside of the chromosomes. No, yan. Okay. So these are some structures that we can find inside our prokaryotic, specifically bacteria. Then we have cytoplasmic membrane, katong covering the cytoplasm. So it is a phospholipid bilayer. So 2 layers kay bilayer. Unsa man nga layer, it is made up of a lipid and phosphorus, no? Phospholipid bilayer. Similar to eukaryotes without sterol. Okay? Ang function ng membrane is it maintains cell integrity. Kaya one of the target of antibacterial drug is the cell membrane or the cytoplasmic membrane. If we can destroy the cytoplasmic membrane, then we can make the bacteria mamatay, lyse, no? Mag-lyse ang bacteria, so mamatay. So that's one also of the targets of one of the targets of kanang antibiotic or antibacterial therapy. Kasi it maintains the integrity of the cell. Also, it regulates transport, meaning kasi diha mo sulod ug mugawas ang proteins nagimo sa bacteria or the things that it needs from outside, so diha mo agi. And meron din siyang other specialized functions. Now, the cell wall, merong cell wall sila. So our cell wall is made, their cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan, no? Layer, which is NAG and NAM. Nakalimot ko ani, NAG and NAM. Your N-muramic acid manggunang. So, as a NAG and NAM, I will tell you next time. I forgot the meaning of this NAG and NAM. No? NAG and NAM. Peptidoglycan. It is a rigid structure. It gives shape to the cell. Ang function ng cell wall is to protect cell from lysis by osmotic pressure. So, ang cell wall ang so we have the cell membrane, and after the cell membrane, may cell wall pa yun sila na protection. So just imagine duha, no? Whereas tayo, we only have the cell membrane of our cell. So, and your cell wall is the basis for bacterial classification. Ano ito na classification? Your gram negative and your gram positive. So, diha magbase. How did we identify a bacteria kung gram-positive or gram-negative siya? Because of the cell wall ng bacteria. So that's one way of classifying them. Then another glycocalyx. So ang glycocalyx is a thick layer of slimy gelatinous material located outside the cell wall. No? So hindi lahat meron ha. But there are times when the bacteria meron siyang glycocalyx. So after cell wall may glycocalyx. So it is produced by the cell membrane and it's secreted outside the cell wall. Now, may dalawang klase ang glycocalyx. We call it a slime layer, pag, or capsule. So, anong difference ng ano? So, ang slime layer, highly organized ito siya. No. It is loosely attached to the cell wall. Okay? Loosely attached to the cell wall ang slime layer. So, dili siya organized, tapos loosely attached. So, kalat siya in short. No, dili siya organized, dili po siya firmly attached to the cell wall. Ang capsule naman is made up of polysaccharides, which is firmly attached to the cell wall. So, fixed siya. No? And it is highly organized. Okay? So, again, ang slime layer is loosely attached to the cell wall, made up of glycoproteins. And it is not organized. Ang capsule, on the other hand, is firmly attached to the cell wall, made up of polysaccharides. Okay? So, yan si glycocalyx. So, dito sa picture, mo ni si glycocalyx kaning gilinginan. No? So, yan. Then, capsule, di ba? Sabi natin glycocalyx, so meron din capsule. Ang capsule, ito ang virulence factor ng mga bacteria. What do you mean when you say virulence factor? Sinong maka-discuss, maka-explain? Ha? Kablinda?
How kuan po siya, how do I say this in English po, kanang how dali siya makatakod po, ma'am, how dali siya mahimong viral, like from host to host po.
Dali mahimong viral?
Oo,
Walay
like
viral.
from host to host.
No, do not use the word viral, because if viral, you are referring to virus. Ha?
Sorry po, like
Oh.
from how siya easily magkuan, procreate, mag-transfer from host to host, and how siya difficult na ikuan i-get rid of po.
Okay, what about Ihan Santos? And next is mga ano. Ihan Santos, unsay mo explanation?
Ang ability sa bacteria to infect, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Sige. The others later, I will call you. Sige. Ay, mali. So, when we speak of virulence, no, it's how, when you say how virulent, meaning how the ability of a bacteria to cause infection. So, one factor that can ensure that it can cause infection is the presence of a capsule, no? Why? Bakit siya nagiging major virulence factor or major reason of causing infection? Because your capsule acts as a barrier to toxic molecules. So, kung ang bacteria nimo na ay capsule, maskin naapa kay antibiotic that will attack the outside portion of the cell of the bacteria, it will not penetrate the bacteria because of the capsule kasi it's a barrier, no, to toxic molecules. Kaning toxic molecules mo na considered toxic sa kanila yung drugs na ginainom ng pasyente. Another one, it prevents phagocytosis or the eating, di ba? When you say phagocytosis, kaon by macrophages and neutrophils. So, pag naay capsule ang bacteria, dili siya pwede lamunon, i-ingest sa macrophages. Oh, so yan. So, meaning it can survive. In short, pag naikapsule ang bacteria, it can continue to survive. Then it aids in the adherence of the organism to host cells and non-biological surfaces. So, pangkapit din yan siya ng bacteria, no? Para siya mupilit dito Yes, my question, reason din siya ma'am, bakit may antibiotic resistance kay dahil sa barrier? Yes, no, pwede siya maging reason. But antibiotic resistance is more complicated if you're going to dig it up. No? It's not just a matter nga merong capsule ang bacteria, but it's more, it is the ability of a bacteria to resist, no, the action of the antibiotic, no. So yan. Okay, so that's your capsule. Then flagella. Flagella are extensions, no? They are thread-like appendages of helically coiled protein subunits. So flagella is made up of protein which we call flagellin. So Sharo, mawala pa jud mo ano, flagella, flagellin. Ang pinakagamit ni flagella is for movement. So bacteria with flagella can move, no? So another function of your flagella is chemotaxis, motility, run and tumble movement. So ang mga flagella depende na ay uban nga tag-as, na ay uban nga nugbo. So no, this is not flagella. Ang flagella kanilang tag-as. Ang nugbo silya na siya. So ito walang flagella. So absent at ricus. Ito isa lang, in one end lang, so mono. Pag both ends, ito, it's amphi. Like amphibians, they can live on land and on water. Diba? So amphibians, so amphitricus. Then pag isang side pero maraming siya, more than one, it's lophotricus. Pag dalawang side na marami, it's amphilophotricus. Diba kay isa ka side, duha ka side. Daghan, pero one side, daghan niya, both sides. And kung gilibutan siya, all sides and in the center, so it's peritricus. So that's how we name, because there are bacteria na ingon ani og mga shape. Presence of extensions. Then itong pilus or fimbriae or pilay pag marami, pilus pag isa lang. So it's proteinaceous hair-like. So kani siya. Kaning orange na gagmay. No? And even kaning this one. Hair-like structures. Kaning itom dahil, kaning itom. Muna ang hair-like structures. No? So, kaning gagmay is the fimbriae. So kaning black is the hair-like structures which we call pilus. Kung gagmay siya, kung nugbo, fimbriae. Okay? So, outside of the bacteria. So, these are composed of polymerized protein, pilin. So, di po mo kalimot, pilus, pilin, flagella, flagellin. They are thinner than flagella, if you notice. So, mas payat. And it is not, ang function of flagella, remember, is for movement, motility. Ang pilus naman is not, it's never associated with movement. Ang function nila is attachment. No, adherence or attachment. Example of a bacteria nga na ay fimbriae is your Neisseria gonorrhea, which is diplococci. Neisseria gonorrhea. If you see a Neisseria gonorrhea under a microscope, naa siya daghan kayo nga hair-like structures. These are pilus or fimbriae. Nasa fimbriae. So that is why once a patient is infected with gonorrhea, very hard, meaning the chances of, once na-expose ang pasyente with Neisseria gonorrhea, the chances of getting an infection is very high because of the presence of the fimbriae, because it will attach to the area, to the genitourinary tract. Kasi ang Neisseria is sexually transmitted. So, mu-attach siya dito sa area causing infection. And also, another function of your pilus or fimbriae, it can enable conjugation. Yung na-mention natin kanina. Ano yung conjugation? So, saan na yung pangutana? It is a transfer of genetic material from a donor cell to a recipient cell using a sex pillow. So that's conjugation. So meaning, kung ang duha ka cell na sila'y both na ay pilay, so maskin dili sila magduol, but if the pilay attaches, each pilay attaches, so pwedeng mag-transfer og genetic material ang one cell to the other cell through the pilus or the pilay. So muna yung gamit, no? Transfer of genetic material. So yan si pilay. Si fimbriae is more on the attachment. Okay? Then meron tayong endospore, no? Or spores. So they are dehydrated. So dehydrated meaning walang water content. Multi-shell structures formed by gram-positive organisms. So remember, only gram-positive organisms can have endospores in response to adverse conditions. So meaning, kung naay bacteria and nabutang siya sa environment where is very harsh ang condition, walay food, walay source of nutrient for it to grow, to divide. So ang himuon sa cell, mura siya og ano ba, kanang hibernation. So it is a parang kung ang animal pa, di ba, sa mga polar bears, they hibernate. When do they hibernate? Kanang time nga very ang weather, no? Kanang tugnaw kayo ang weather. So because of that, they cannot find food and the scarcity of food and ang water. So during that time, mag-hibernate sila, di ba? Mura lang silang natulog. 4 months pag yun ang mga polar bear. So just imagine, inguna na po ang mga bacteria. So they can do this through the endospore. So ibalot sila inside of it na para sila i-protect, no? So against adverse conditions. So resistant ang endospore sa heat. So if a bacteria is naay spore, maskin pag imo nang ipabukalan, i-subject nimo sa 1,000 degrees Celsius, still the bacteria will live. Resistant to dehydration, so the absence of water, nutrients, radiation. Just imagine, even radiation cannot kill a bacteria if it is in the spore stage. Chemicals, mas unsa naghinlo diha, di gyud namamatay. UV, no? Ultraviolet, and starvation. So all of this, still it can survive. Pati autoclave, ma'am, yes. Autoclave is just 171 degrees. Ay, pila gani ako sa autoclave, kalimot ko. Basta. So dili gapon, basta nakaspore. Na way to take them out of the endospore phase. Mubalik na sila vegetative. They will return to vegetative state, but if the harsh conditions are no longer present, they will return to the vegetative phase. No? How to kill them, ma'am? Di dyan na sila mamatay. Kulato nato nga maging vegetative state siya ang mga kaninga bacteria, then that's the time we have to give the drug. So, yan. Okay? Yeah. What are the requirements for growth of bacteria? No? First, physical requirements. So, kailangan tama ang temperature kasi na ay bacteria that they can live in higher temperatures, in lower temperatures, mga ingon ana. pH, no? Depende sa requirement because di ba na acidophiles, na ay alkalinophiles, so depende sa bacteria. Osmotic pressure. So each bacteria has different physical requirements. And if these physical requirements are kanang okay sa kanang ganing for them, then they can survive. What are the chemical requirements? They need water. They need oxygen. Except for anaerobic bacteria. Kasi meron tayong anaerobic bacteria. These bacteria do not like oxygen. So, kung naay oxygen, mamatay sila. So, naay mga yung nga bacteria later discuss. Or carbon dioxide, carbon, nitrogen, minerals. So, mura po siya, the same goes ato because they are living organisms. Ang media is like if we are going to, ang media is kung ano nato sila, ipag-grow nato sila in the lab, dili normal growth in the lab. We need to have a specific media. Kana kung sa Petri plate, di ba? Unsa nga media inyong ma-remember? What nutrient media can you remember in the lab that you use? Yes, Christian.
Blood, ma'am.
Unsa pa specific atong ginagamit nato?
Chocolate.
Unsa pa? Mga ano?
Agar po, ma'am.
Nutrient agar, mga ana. So, nutrient broth. So, sila ang ano, yun ang mga kailangan, no? So, depende na. There are bacteria that kailangan sa blood agar nimo siya ipatubo. Kay dili siya mabuhi kung sa normal lang kanang nutrient agar. Mga ingon ana. So, na enriched media, selective media, differential media. So, you discuss that in the lab. Okay. Now, what are the types of bacteria? So, meron tayong tatlong types. Gram-positive, gram-negative, and acid-fast ng mga types of bacteria natin. So, let's go to the gram-positive bacteria. Ang mga gram-positive bacteria, meron silang thick cell wall. Makapal yung kanilang cell wall. 40 layers daw thick. So, kung ato siyang i-dissect, 40 layers. Just imagine 40 layers. So, the cell wall of the bacteria is really their protection. And this cell wall, 90% of the cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. Along with the peptidoglycan, merong teichoic acid and lipoteichoic acid. And they are negatively charged teichoic acid on the surface. Now, ang lipoteichoic acid, it anchors the cell wall to the cytoplasmic membrane. So, ang function, lipoteichoic acid is para mudikit si anchor the cytoplasmic, anchor the cell wall to the cytoplasmic membrane. Because remember, nauna si cell membrane, then si cell wall. So, meaning the presence of teichoic acid in the cell wall will make it na para mupilit siya, mudikit siya kay cytoplasmic membrane. Okay, that's for gram-positive. So 90% peptidoglycan and the rest are teichoic and lipoteichoic acid, which is more used in the anchoring. Si gram-negative naman, if we are to compare, ang kanilang cell wall is more complicated, more complex than the gram-positive. Complicated siya or complex, pero manipis lang siya. No? Thinner siya, but it is complex in structure. Wala siyang teichoic or lipoteichoic acid, just like your gram-positive. Diba? So remember ang difference. Wala siyang teichoic and lipoteichoic acid. Pero meron siyang LPS or lipopolysaccharide. Okay? So, lipid A, no? Lipopolysaccharide. Kanina may answer na lipid A sa question. So, ito siya. So, instead of teichoic or lipoteichoic, it has an LPS or lipopolysaccharide. Now, this is an endotoxin. Pag sinabi natong endotoxin, it is produced by the bacteria. No? So, ang bacteria mismo nag-produce ng toxin. So, pag toxin, it's something poisonous to humans or to other organisms. So, ang mga gram-negative bacteria, merong LPS, which is an endotoxin. Okay? this like LPS is toxic to humans. So if we are infected with a gram-negative bacteria and this bacteria, if you're infected with a bacterial microorganism and it happens that this microorganism is gram-negative and is capable of forming an endotoxin, then that's the problem because it is toxic to humans. Okay? So, this is the reason why your gram-negative bacteria is more, in terms of infection, mas makakause yung infection, no? And it is harder to treat a gram-negative infection than a gram-positive infection. That's the So, this endotoxin is an infection factor. It can cause inflammation, fever, and shock. Kaya nga, bakit magkakaroon ng shock? Because it is an activator of the immune response. So, the presence of this endotoxin will trigger the immune system to produce an immune response to combat the infection. And sometimes, ang immune response is kanang daghan ra kaayo that it can cause shock to the patient and eventually it can lead to death, no? If dili gid siya matreat dayon. Okay, so that's your gram-negative. Okay? So, if we are going to compare, so ingon ani ang structure. So, ang gram-positive mo ni ang cell wall, di ba? Made of peptidoglycan. How many? 40 layers, di ba? So, kani 40 layers, yun na siya. And then, may cell membrane siya. After cell membrane, may cell wall siya. So, diri ang outside kani. And this black here, kaning baga na black, from the cell membrane which goes outside the cell wall is your lipothioic acid, and this payat lang na galing lang sa cell wall is your teichoic acid. For the gram-negative naman, manipis lang siya. Wala siyang peptidoglycan, pero meron siyang lipopolysaccharide or LPS. Okay? So yan. O ito, meron siyang inner membrane which is made up of phospholipid bilayer. Pareho lang aning isa, tanawa, so naa sila pareho ana, the inner membrane. After the inner membrane, meron siyang periplasmic space. Ang cell wall niya, ito lang, kani baga kayang cell wall, so meron siyang cell wall. Pero after the cell wall, meron siyang outer membrane. Yun ang sinasabi na LPS, lipopolysaccharide. So the outer membrane which is added after the cell wall is composed of this one, no? Lipoprotein, fatty acids, lipid A yan. So mas complicated yung kanyang structure. Manipis si cell wall. Ang cell wall lang niya ang nipis. Pero pareho sila aning cell membrane, inner membrane. Pero naa siya additional na LPS, pinaka-outer membrane. Okay. Now, if you remember gram, how do we know if a bacteria is gram-positive or gram-negative? So we do gram staining. So in gram staining, all you have to remember is the initial stain is crystal violet. So, kunyari, may dalawang bacteria kayo, ipag-gram stain. So, ang una nyo ilagay is crystal violet. And you wait 1 minute. After, you rinse with water. Then, you put grams iodine, which is the mordant. Okay? Initial stain is the crystal violet, followed by a mordant, which is your grams iodine. 1 minute gihapon, then i-rinse. Then, followed by a decolorizer, which is your acid alcohol or alcohol. So, this one, if gram-negative ang inyong bacteria, tanggalon sa alcohol ang initial stain or the primary stain. Sorry, class, ang hero. So, sabi ko, after the Mordant is the decolorizer. So, by the word decolorize, iyang tanggalon. But remember, only gram-negative bacteria can be decolorized. Your gram-positive bacteria will never be decolorized because it will absorb the initial stain or the primary stain. Then the last that you are going to place is your counter stain, which is your safranin. So at the end of the procedure, if your bacteria is colored violet under the microscope, then it is a gram-positive bacteria. But if it is colored red, it is a gram-negative na naman. Because pag gram-positive siya, once na magbutang ka og mordant or the grams iodine, mupilit ang color sa primary stain to the cell wall. Mupilit siya. Fixer man si mordant, i-fix niya nga di na jud matanggal. So mas kinunsaon pa mo naghugas og alcohol, di na jud siya matanggal. Pero kung gram-negative ang imong bacteria, pagbutang ni kay gram dili man i-absorb sa cell wall sa bacteria ang crystal violet. So maskin butangan ni mo fixer or mordant, di gyapon siya mopilit. So muna pagbutang nimo sa alcohol, matanggal siya. So karon kay natanggal man nimo siya, ang imuhang safranin nga counter stain mo na yang i-take up na color. So that's one way to know your grams. So basta naa siya initial or primary stain, crystal violet, mordant is grams neg iodine, decolorizer is alcohol, and the counter stain is safranin. Okay. So, yan, nasa drawing. Okay? Yeah. Okay, example of bacteria na mga gram-positive. So, we start with cocci. So, Staphylococcus aureus. So, these are, ano ang mga sakit na cause ni Staphylococcus aureus? We have boils or pigsa. Mo dyan pinaka number 1, pigsa. Now, your Staphylococcus aureus is also able to produce an exotoxin siya, dili endo, exotoxin. And it can also cause gastroenteritis, toxic shock syndrome, and your scalded skin syndrome, si Staph aureus. So usually, sa skin, no skin siya. Then you have your Streptococcus pneumoniae. It is a kanang major cause of adult pneumonia and is the most common cause also of otitis media. Ano ang otitis media? Kanang kung sa Bisaya pa gibuog. You know what gibuog? Kanang there's something that goes outside of your ear, a path yellowish discharge, so that is otitis media. No? So ang cause ana is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Pero ang pinaka gina-cause niya is pneumonia sa adult. Then you have Streptococcus pyogenes. So ang Streptococcus pyogenes naman, it can cause pharyngitis, inflammation sa pharynx. It can cause scarlet fever and rheumatic fever. And also toxic shock syndrome or TSS. Ngano man kay nagaproduce pud siya og toxin, exotoxin. Okay? And very virulent si Streptococcus pyogenes. Among all those na mention ako, ang scarlet fever, no? Ang and even rheumatic fever. So yan, ha? So yan. Yan example ng 3 gram-positive. And another one is Bacillus anthracis. This is the cause of your anthrax. So ang anthrax can be cutaneous sa skin, inhalational. Oh, di ba? Muna ang anthrax, but tawag ani. Usually wala dili na nato na siya makita. If na ay outbreak, Usually, simba ko lang, it can be used for chemical warfare. No, chemical warfare ang Bacillus anthracis. Kay anthrax, so kung ma-inhale mo na, it will go to the lungs and it will cause you, it can lead to death. But the most common is your skin infection, no? So, yan, sa anthrax. And your Corynebacterium diphtheriae. Okay? Cutaneous yung anthrax, sabi ko. So, meron din siya, nag-produce din siya ng exotoxin si Bacillus anthracis. So, meron tayong respiratory anthrax, meaning ma-inhale ni mo, it is rare but it is deadly, fatal. Ma-inhale ni mo si anthrax, it is fatal kasi it can cause, it will affect your respiratory system. Another name for anthrax, kani atong gina-mention there is the name of the bacteria. So you take note of the disease it can cause. So sabi ko nga anthrax. Another name for anthrax is wool sorter's disease. WOOL, sorter. Nga naman, kay sa unang panahon, mga tao nga nagahimo og wool, di ba? Wool is a fabric. Ang wool is coming from the ship, the wool of the ship. Kanang balhibo sa ship, di ba? Ginatanggal man na and then it will be processed to become fabric. Kanang wool. O man ang uso na tela sa una. So ang mga tao mo nilang trabaho. Ang problema is the ship, if naa siya anthrax, so katong mga wool sorter, ma-inhale, diba cutaneous man ang anthrax, dito lang sa wool sa ship. So pwede siya ma-inhale sa mga nagtrabaho katong mga wool sorter. So that's the cause of the disease. Wool sorter's disease is caused by Bacillus anthracis. Remember that. And sabi ko nga, it is used in bioterrorism or chemical warfare. It is also capable of forming an endospore si anthrax. Si Corynebacterium diphtheria naman, it can lead to difficulty breathing, heart failure, paralysis, and eventually death. Okay? So, it usually affects the mucous membrane of your nose and throat. Diphtheria. So, nose and throat. Ang iyahang mag-cause siya infection. Pero, if it mag-advance na ang disease, advanced stage, it can lead or it can damage your heart, kidneys, and even the nervous system. So that is why diphtheria is deadly. That is why it is one of the basic immunizations in children. No? DPT, di ba? I hope you remember. The first vaccination for children is your BCG. Pagkapanganak, injectionan din na sila BCG. That is against tuberculosis. After 6 weeks to 8 weeks, they will be given DPT, diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus. So, ang diphtheria is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheria. Pertussis is whooping cough, which is caused by, nakalimut lagi ko lang. Whooping cough, I will remember later. And then your tetanus, T, diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus. Ang whooping cough is caused by my memory is later I will basta whooping cough you try to okay? Sige. So yan. Whooping cough. Ako ma-remember class. Then we have anaerobes. No, anaerobes. So, di ba, gram-positive rats and anaerobes. So, these are bacteria that do not need oxygen. No? Ayaw nila ng oxygen. So, anaerobes. Bordetella pertussis pala ang whooping cough. Pertussis, Bordetella pertussis ang causative organism ng whooping cough. Kanang gihutoy kung sa Bisaya. So karon children, you must not see children with whooping cough because it is a must, MUST na ang tanang bata i-immunize against whooping cough or pertussis. Okay. Sige. So, anaerobes, Clostridium botulinum. Okay, unsa man na siya? Clostridium botulinum is the cause of ganing food poisoning, no? So, it can cause food poisoning especially with canned foods. Kanang nakadelata. No, if ang delata naa siya kanang di ba ang can dapat dili siya mo pop kana ganing murag ni burot. Kung niburot ang ibabaw sa katong delata, possibility na ana siya Clostridium botulinum diha. So if you eat the content of that canned goods, so na-add to siya Clostridium botulinum. Ang problema, this Clostridium botulinum is capable of producing a neurotoxin. So makaproduce siya neurotoxin. And this neurotoxin is lethal. No, it can cause paralysis. So and even death. No? Kanang pagwapa nga nagpa-botox, ang gina-inject sa ilaha is the toxin produced by your Clostridium botulinum. And unsa man na siya nga toxin? That is your botulinal toxin. Naaman ta ko ano ba? Tawagan ni ani class. Do you want me to write while I am discussing?
Yes, ma'am.
Na ako unsa ni? Wala gining kanang lang. I will get my konsa na ako akong kanang sa tawagan na. Ako i-attach din lang class. Kaya natin ang mga... Ay. Notate. Tama ba? Kalimot naman ko eh. Kay... Is it draw? Ada ko ba? Sorry. Here. Sige. So, ang botulinum ang iya is your ay nga no man ni glass. Unsa day dapat gamiton? Sorry, I forgot how to ano di ay. Sige. So your botulinum ang iyang i-produce kaning botulinal toxin. Mo na siya ang kanang gina-inject sa mga naong sa nagpa-botox. Okay? And we have Clostridium difficile. So difficile Clostridium is caused by, ang iyang ginakos is pseudomembranous colitis. Unsa man ni siya? Mura ni siya kanang diarrhea. So it will inflammation of your colon. So the manifestation of the disease is more of murag diarrhea. Clostridium perfringens is causing your gas gangrene. So gas gangrene, gangrene is sa inyuhang wounds, pwede siya, no? And it can cause necrosis. So mamatay ang tissue area affected. And foodborne siya. You can get this from food, no? Foodborne. Then we have Clostridium tetani kani. Unsay cause ani your tetanus. Unsay another name for tetanus? Lockjaw. Okay. Now, kaning Clostridium tetani, all of these they are able to produce toxin, no? So ang Clostridium tetani makaproduce siya toxin ang bacteria. So ang toxin is tetanus plasmin. Tetanus plasmin. So kung naatuno kag lansang and then kaning Clostridium tetani nimo ang meaning the soil has Clostridium tetani so na-infect ka and then once inside your punctured wound, so ang Clostridium tetani can cause tetanus only punctured. Unsa man ang punctured wound, meaning kanang lalom imuhang samad, kanang punctured like kanang lansang ana, so dili open wound. So muna, so once na naana dito ang bacteria, pwede siya mag-produce og ang iro ra gud pwede siya mag-produce og tetanus plasmin. And because of this toxin mo na nga magka-tetanus ang pasyente. And bacteria. So the first aid, first antiseptic to use for your punctured wound is butangan nimo siya og hydrogen peroxide. Nga naman, the moment you place hydrogen peroxide, kuta ibutang jud niyo dito nga masulod tong liquid dito sa the extra oxygen. Kay mahimo naman siyang water. So plus O. So yan. So mahimo na siyang water. So ma-release niya ang oxygen. Yes. So kay ma-release yang oxygen, nanay supply of oxygen karon. And remember, your bacteria is anaerobe. Ayaw niya ng oxygen. Luna. Sorry class, among iro. So it will kill the bacteria. So that's kaning hydrogen peroxide. Here they ang drawings. Ay, di isa mo adto sa next page. Pagka na lang yun. Spirochetes. So spirochetes, we have Borrelia burgdorferi. So this is the cause of your Lyme disease. Natugay lang taanin no, kung sigit tag ano tape. Sabay diretso class. Ano dahil sige. So kani is the cause of your Lyme disease. No, your Borrelia burgdorferi. Okay, your Leptospira styrogans is the cause of your leptospirosis. You know, di ba? Kanang usually spirosis. Kanang ihi sa ilaga. Usually infected ani, so pwede ka mag leptospirosis when you kanang like kung naay baha and then musalom ka sa baha tapos na kay wound, pwede kung na-present ni siya, spirochete siya, di ba? Parang helical. So, mubore siya sa imong stomach, so it can cause leptospirosis. And of course, your Treponema pallidum is the cause of your syphilis, double L. Your syphilis, which is a kanang STI, sexually transmitted infection. So, walay laing mode of transmission but only through sexual contact. Pero pwede po siya from mother to child. If the mother has syphilis during the pregnancy, pwede niya mahatag sa iyahang anak. Okay? So, yan. Then we have gram-negative cocci. So, gram-negative na tayo. So, gram-negative, so this one can cause your gonorrhea. So, gonorrhea is the leading STD, sexually transmitted disease. Now, unsa man ang manifestation sa gonorrhea sa mga lalaki na ay kanang urethritis, inflammation of the urethra. So, sa urethritis, so ang manifestation urethritis. Sa mga babae naman, ang iyaha is cervicitis. So, it's the cervix that is mag-inflame. So, unsa man ang iyang manifestation ani, naa siya'y pus or no, mao na siya makita. Purulent. It can also cause pharyngitis. No? Ang Neisseria meningitis is the cause of your meningitis. No, meningitis. Meningitis is the inflammation of the meninges of the brain. Okay? Or meningococcemia, which is life-threatening po siya. So, muna ang mga disease nga ilang na-cause ha. And also daw this one can cause Waterhouse Frederick Friedrichsen laka. RICHSEN syndrome. Okay? Unsa man na siya? Kani hemorrhage in the adrenal gland. Hemorrhage in the adrenal gland. Kamu na magutang sa hemorrhage. So, yan siya. Okay. Next is your gram-negative rats. Ito man si Hashina. Guste. Karoon na siya ni Sulod. Sino to? Wala mo ko gana naka-check, anak. So, this one, Bordetella pertussis is the cause of your whooping cough or hutoy. Tingnan ako ganiha. Then, E. coli, cause of diarrhea. No? With mucus. And nga pwede siya maging fatal if ang imuhang E. coli katong variant na O157H7 kani siya no, kani siya nga species ang grabe makakos og severe abdominal cramps, bloody diarrhea and vomiting. So pwede mamatay ang pasyente from this one. Your Francisella tularensis is the cause of tularemia. So it is a primary disease of rabbits na pwede matransmit sa tao. Then Haemophilus influenza. Influenza, you know influenza, right? So, or flu, no? Influenza. Then Helicobacter pylori is the cause of your ulcer, peptic ulcer. Okay? Then your Legionella pneumophila, muni ang Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease. Okay. Nganong gingalan sa Legionella? Because there was one incident before mga Legionnaire, mga lalaki ba nga nag-meeting sila sa isa ka area dito sa US. I forgot the state. And sa aircon, there was this bacteria na nakaadto sa aircon and na-release dito sa area kung asa sila nag-convention. And most of them have manifested a disease. That's why they named it, the bacteria causing it, Legionella, kasi Legionnaire, no? Legionnaire's disease. And Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So Pseudomonas aeruginosa, ang inyong timanan ani is a sweet or grape-like odor. Sweet or grape-like odor ang smell sa katong disease. Sa iyang, usually this can cause mga wounds, no? It will affect wounds. And ang smell sa wound is sweet or grape-like odor. Lain na, no? Sweet niya. Samad kang hilad ba? And to know if it is a Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection na ay blue-green pigment, no? Sa inyuhang samad. No? Why? Because the bacteria is able to produce a kanang dye, no? Murag dye, colored blue and green. So, mana blue-green. Okay? So, blue-green pigment. So, pag namoy samad, niya, nag-color bluish or greenish, ang possible na causative organism is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Sa maning participant has enabled closed captioning. What is this class? Okay, then Shigella. So usually cause na siya dysentery. Unsa man ang dysentery, it is an intestinal inflammation. So mag-inflame ang intestine, primary sa colon. So the patient will feel severe, mild or severe stomach cramps and diarrhea with mucus or blood, para sa E. coli. Mo na siya. So kung dili ma-hydrate ang pasyente, it can lead to fatal. So mag-cause ni siya dehydration, no? So which can lead to death, no? Mucus or blood, so that's Shigella. So other symptoms include fever, abdominal, kana siya. Then Vibrio cholera is your cholera, no? So wala siya yung sakit. So this is the cause of your plague, katong naa sa Bible. So it can be bubonic plague, septicemic, or pneumonic plague. Sina siya class. So muna siya ang ano. So zoonotic ni siya, meaning gikan sa hayop, and then in rodents and animals, then matransmit sa humans. So we are accidental victims, no? Usually sa unang panahon katong sa Bible, ang rats ang nag-cause, no? It is carried by rats kasi nga from animals, rodents siya, and specifically mga rats. So muna siya, if transmitted siya sa humans, it becomes fatal. Rare lang siya but fatal. Pwede, no, but rare also, no, if it cough out sa patients with the infection. Okay. Then we go to acid-fast organism. So ang acid-fast organism has mycolic acid, no? The cell wall has mycolic acid. So waxy lipid covers thin peptidoglycan layer. Then ang phospholipid bilayer with protein. So inyong timanan aning timanan ninyo sa acid-fast na siya'y mycolic acid. No? Kana mycolic acid. Only acid-fast ang naingon ana. So napod siya phospholipid bilayer with proteins, permeability barrier, so selective. Then diffusion, osmosis, so pwede sa bacteria. Basta mycolic, so this one. So ang pinaka-importante sa iya. So we have your Mycobacterium leprae, which is known as Hansen's disease. Ganiha kay, you know this one? So this one, di ba, di Cox disease man atong ingon ganiha. So kani siya Hansen's disease or leprosy or sa ato ketong. Sa Bisaya pa is, sa Bisaya sa ketong, you know class? Anyone? Kailan mo ani? Ketong leprosy? Sa Bisaya before there was no drug for treatment sa kaning leprosy. So what ang gihimo sa Philippines was that all person na naay leprosy, they were ipadala sa Palawan, sa Coron. Dito na sila sa una, before World War II and after World War II. Or I think it's basta after. Dito tanan ang gina-isolate sila kasi walang gamot and para di sila makahawa, no? But ngayon meron na tayo. The treatment for leprosy is your dapsone. Ano di pangit? Your dapsone, that's the drug. Okay. Then we have your unique bacteria. So chlamydia, mga chlamydia species, Mycoplasma pneumoniae, and rickettsia. So we'll not go to detail. Ang ako lang is your rickettsia kanisya, your Rocky Mountain. Pangit rin siya musulat, no? Spotted fever. Rocky Mountain spotted fever. No? Ang iyahang vector is the ticks. So kung mapakan ka og ticks nga naay ani magka-Rocky Mountain spotted fever ka. Wala sa Pilipinas. Okay? So dito mag-work. Then of the eukaryotes. Hala, last may binagamay na lang class. Eukaryotes, we have, they are multicellular, they have a true nucleus, they are membrane bound, and they divide by mitosis. So fungi number 1. Remember sa fungi na siya chitin, ang yang cell wall na ay chitin. So this is antigens, no? So ang yang cell membrane na ay ergosterol. Okay? So kana. There are 2 types of fungi, the molds and the yeast. Ang difference niya, the molds are multicellular, the yeast are unicellular. They are obligate aerobes, meaning they cannot live without oxygen. Kay aerobes, obligate, and they are saprophytes. What do you mean by saprophytes? Usually, they live and utilize. So pag mingon tag saprophytes, they live and utilize organic matter. So they need organic matter in order to survive. Unsa man nga mga organic matter? Pwede sa soil or rotten vegetable. That is why, kung naamoy mga panit sa inyong mga gulay or kanang dili na iapilog luto gani, if you throw that in the soil, what will happen? Di ba ma-decompose man siya? Mawala man siya, ma-decompose. And who are responsible for decomposing this? Your fungi in the soil. Okay? Mga saprophytes. So, muna, timanan ninyo. So, mycelium. Sama ng mycelium. So, ang mycelium is an intertwining structure composed of tubular hyphae. So, naani siya sa ano, sa tapos, so, pag mingon ay hyphae, so it's all about the mycelium. So, vegetative portion and reproductive part. So, you just have to, di man alala. But, more so, ano lang ni siya, murag ka na siyang extension sa fungi. Now, spores involved in sexual reproduction. So, basidius spores, aerosol, inyo lang na. So, just go over it, no? Difference lang man na siya. Sa sexual reproduction sa fungi niya, katong sa mga spores na involved. So, we have basidio, ascospores, zygospores, oospores. So, wala na iyang mga, not so much. Kahit malimtan ninyo na, pero na. So, kani siya ang mga fungi can cause, ang disease na ilang makos is the mycosis. Muna ang disease na makos sa fungi. And there are types of mycosis. So, superficial, cutaneous, subcutaneous, systemic. So, kaning systemic, fungi or fungal infection can cause systemic infection. So, wala na ang problema sa mga fungi. Like, if your immune system, pero ganito class, if your immune system is low, that's the time, kasi opportunistic man siya. Pag ang immune system sa tao very low or low, pwede ka magka-fungal infection. But if your immune system is good, seldom na magka-fungal infection. Kaya sabi ko, the most common cause of infections are bacteria. Next is virus. Fungi, no, ang last. Okay. So these are the category of fungi. So these are the species, no? Kani siya. So these are the causative fungal. So lahat ito sila fungi ni sa tilatanan, kani dire kanitanan fungi. And this is the disease. So common kani siya superficial sa skin, kana ganing up, no? So mga tinea negra, piedra kana. So ang pinaka-common diri is kani, Candida albicans, no? So pwede siya sa skin, mucosa or nails. So very common na mga infection. Kaning uban diri, ano na ni siya? Kung mahina na gyud imong immune system, saka ni sila mag-cause sa imuha og disease, no? Pero pag kanang good imong immune system, seldom. Ay, sangla, tama, sangla di ay sangla ang Bisaya sa leprosy. Salamat gang. Sangla, dili sangla, isangla, no. So sabi ko nga ang imuhang kaning fungi infection pag mahina ang immune system. So people with AIDS or HIV positive, when their immune system becomes low, they are prone to this one. Kasi opportunistic man ni siya. Magbantay lang kung kano sa ka-weak, parang ganon. Then superficial, so no cellular response by the host. So cutaneous, tinea infection sa skin, so mga dermatophytes, so Candida albicans, sabi ko nga ito ang pinaka-common. So kanang oral thrust, kana ganing sa imong, sa tawag nagka-oral thrust ka kanang sa Bisaya, kanang puti sa sides. So that is cause, or sa diaper rash sa babies, sa vagina, Candida vaginitis, it can also cause, and mga other systemic infections. Then we have Streptococcus neoformans orgati, so meningitis. You get this from the droppings or tae sa pigeon. Aspergillus, so kani siya. This is the most, Aspergillus fumigatus, the most common human pathogen. So, pwede nimo ma-inhale ang yang spore. Diba? Katong ganyan, in mga spore. Kani. O, spore, diba? So, pwede nimo siya ma-inhale. And it can cause 3 major types of disease. Allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. So usually, kani siya, pag imong immune system, like people who work in kanang mga, na ay ganing, like for example, chemicals, ma-inhale nila, they are prone to this one, asbestos. No? Asbestos can cause aspergillosis, aspergilloma, and invasive. So, ngano, because this type of fungi can produce a toxin. Toxin, which is myco, because mycosis man ni siya. Fungi, meaning, pag mayroon kag mycotoxin, meaning fungi ang nag-produce ana. Then, ang mga opportunistic against si Candida, cutaneous, as well as systemic. And kani gyud, timan igyud ni ninyo, kay nangutanak, oral, what is the most common opportunistic infection in person with HIV? Most common, fungal. Opportunistic, kahit dili pa nato butangan ang fungal, opportunistic infection in persons with HIV, pneumocystis jirovecii, this can cause pneumonia. So kung ang person with AIDS or with HIV, kasi ang AIDS full blown naman, di ba? Sakit na ang AIDS. HIV is the human immunovirus is the organism. No. Virus kasi siya is the causative organism. Ang iyang makos ana is AIDS. So kung nakay AIDS or HIV positive, pwede ka magkaroon ng other infection because HIV virus attacks our immune system. So if the immune system is low, opportunistic infection can set in. So one of this infection is pneumocystis jirovecii. Sa una, ang tawag sa yaan is carini, but giilisa na karon og jirovecii. Okay? So yan, it can cause pneumonia in people with AIDS. Protozoa, they are unicellular non-photosynthetic eukaryotes. So another group of microorganisms is the protozoans. So we have flagellates, amoeba, ciliates, sporozoans. So they can reproduce sexually or asexually. So muna yung lisod sa ilakay. Kahit na walang partner, maka-reproduce sila. So these are the protozoans. So pwede na fecal oral route. So Entamoeba histolytica, the cause of your amoebiasis. So, nawala man. Then, Gargia lambia is the cause of your gargiasis. Toxoplasma gondii, usually we get this from cats. So, pwede tayo mabigyan ng Toxoplasma gondii na protozoa coming from cats. Toxoplasmosis ang iyahang disease. Then, sexually transmitted, Trichomonas vaginalis. So, sexually transmitted protozoan infection is Trichomona vaginalis. Cause of trichomoniasis, no? Then, vector-borne, so meaning, when you say vector-borne, kanang insects. So, transmitted if we are bitten with insects. So, Plasmodium, mga malaria na siya. Trypanosoma, mga katong Chagas disease, and leishmaniasis, no? So, yan. So, Entamoeba, it can cause bloody diarrhea, greasy diarrhea, so diarrhea pa rin, Toxoplasma, so gikan sa feces ng cat, ma-inhale nimo and makontaminate imong food. O na siya, diyan imo makuha. Sexually transmitted, Trichomonas vaginalis, so painful vaginal itching, burning urination, and frothy vaginal discharge. So yan ang manifestation. Vector-borne, so Plasmodium, sabi ko nga, these are the malaria, causing malaria. There are 4 species that cause malaria, your falciparum, vivax, ovale, and malaria. Among them, this is the most deadly. Ang vector ana niya is sure, Anopheles. Do you know? Anopheles minimus mosquito, the female, ha? Babae. Trypanosoma species, we have Trypanosoma rhodesiense, gambiense, brucei, and cruzi. Ang iyang vector ani is the tsetse fly. We do not have this in the Philippines. In Africa, very common ito, Africa. Leishmania, so Tropica brasiliensis, Donovani cagasi. This one, so your Leishmania, what vector-borne is transmitted by sandfly. So kani sandfly. Sandfly and cause, so muna siya, no? So muna yung makos leishmaniasis. Okay. And a cellular, not considered a cell, does not have a machinery of its own. That is why your viruses. So, kanina sa question, na-appeal ang, dali lang class. Alam pag obligate intracellular parasites. So, moni di ba question kanina, obligate. When you say obligate intracellular parasites, they need a host. Without a host, they cannot. Magnipis ra yun siya. Highlighter daw, tabi kay mura. Ang kaayo ni piso. They need a, ay, naku, anong yellow. Sige. They need a host, no? Kung sa man ang host niya, tayo, obligado sila, inside the cell of the host. Kaya nga, intracellular parasites. Wala silang organelles, walang ribosomes. So, meron lang silang protein. So, kaya nga, pwede siyang merong DNA lang or RNA. So, we have DNA viruses, RNA viruses lang. Okay. So, these are your viruses. Non-envelope and envelope, meaning walay nakabalot. So double-stranded, you have papilloma. This is the virus and this is the family. Mo ni ang family of virus kani. So we have papilloma, papoviridae kana siya. Common ani is your polio, no? Polio. This one pox, wala naman tayo ano, dili ni chicken pox sa katong cow pox o smallpox. So double-stranded envelope, so herpes simplex and hepatitis B, measles, so timanin ninyo man ang mga measles, rabies. This is the family. Family na siya na Viridae. And human immunodeficiency, that is your HIV. Coronavirus, our COVID-19 belongs to this one. Hantavirus, Bunyaviridae, rubella. So these are mga common viruses. So the viral structure, wala siyang machine, pero meron siyang virion, which contains an acid, a genome, packed into a protein code we call capsid. So meron siyang capsid. Ang genome, meron siyang DNA or RNA. So kung ang virus DNA lang, ang genome niya DNA ra gid na. Kung RNA, RNA lang gid na. Okay? So yan. So what are your DNA viruses? Dito na tayo. This is the family ha. Kaning na Viridae muna ang family. So under this one, example, hepatitis B virus. It is blood. So it is transmitted through blood, sexual contact, and sa mother to child, neonatal. So, hepatitis B is also called serum hepatitis kasi blood. And this is the cause of liver cancer. Primary hepatocellular carcinoma. If you have Hepa B, please take care of your liver, dili na mag-inom and everything because it will hasten the cancer. Okay, so hepatitis B virus. Herpes viridae, may dalawa tayo, HSV1, HSV2. Ito siya is ano lang, through saliva, vaginal secretions, vesical fluid, close contact. So, may blisters, cold sores, genital lesion. Kasi nga this is genital ang iyahang kaning transmission. Ang HSV2, again, sexual contact, so genital lesions, oral or kani. So, pare-pareho lang sila. No? Then varicella zoster, this is the cause of your chicken pox. So the cause of your chicken pox. You know what's chicken pox? Hangga. So respiratory route. So kung nag-mask mo, maskin mo tapad ka mo nag-chicken pox, di dyan mo matakdan because the route is respiratory. Ma-inhale ni mo dapat ang virus. So cause ng chicken pox or shingles. Ang shingles is ano siya, reactivation of the chicken pox. Meaning, nagka-chicken pox ka sa una na ayaw ka, pwede ka magka-shingles. Then Epstein-Barr virus, this is the cause of Burkitt's lymphoma and mononucleosis or the kissing disease. So kasi nga oral kissing disease. And cytomegalovirus, so this is chronic fatigue syndrome, congenital infection. So you can get this through blood or magpa-organ transplant from mother to fetus, right through the placenta and close contact. Adenoviridae, adenovirus. So this is fecal oral route, respiratory droplet. So cause of pneumonia, acute respiratory disease, ang ARD, pneumonia, pharyngitis, conjunctivitis, gastroenteritis. Remember, pag na-itis, ang pasabutan na inflammation. So, kani inflammation sa pharynx, kani inflammation sa conjunctiva, kani inflammation sa gastrointestinal wall. Papilloma is human papilloma virus. So, this is sexual, usually sexual contact. Ang fomites, fomite is meaning na introduce ka na ganing mga non-inanimate objects like mga beddings, contaminated beddings, mo na fomite. So sexual contact, so mo na mga warts, kulugo, mucosal papilloma, kaning anogenital warts. Sexual contact ni mo na makuha. Kung dili ni mo na siya matambalan, kanang cervical cancer also is the cause of cervical cancer is HPV and you can only get that through sexual contact. Okay? Sexual contact. So no other means. Parvoviridae, so this is the parvovirus. So nakadungog mo si Romana sa mga iro, di ba na ako'y parvovirus, nagparvo. So respiratory droplet, transplacental mother to fetus, and it is the cause of fifth disease or erythema infectiosum, fetal anemia in babies. Sa transplacental na siya. Poliomyelitis or JC virus, so respiratory route. So leukoencephalopathy. So usually this is a very opportunistic infection because it can only affect immunocompromised patients, so patients with age or patients na immunocompromised na jud pag anak. No? Ang JC virus or John Cunningham, ang meaning sa JC is John Cunningham virus. So it was discovered in 1971 when a doctor found it in the brain of a man with Hodgkin's lymphoma and named the virus after him, John Cunningham. So wala siya problema sa common. It is only dangerous if you have a weak immune system. So muna siya. Unsa man ang leukoencephalopathy? So disorder of the brain white matter. So progressive siya ang maapektuhan ang brain, no? So muna siya. Pax viridae, so muna ang smallpox, but we no longer have smallpox. Kung makakita kag person nga magka-smallpox, that's a very big question. So variola ang ngalan sa virus. Largest and most complex of all viruses. RNA. So at least kamo na mo'y lista ani ha. So dapat you should know unsa siya, RNA ba or DNA. So Paramyxoviridae. So we have para-influenza. So respiratory droplet, cold-like illness. So basta respiration, ma-inhale ni mo, so it will affect the respiratory system. Ana na siya. Tanang proof, sa pag-pronounce I cannot pronounce it correctly. Is ano siya, respiratory infection that is swelling inside the trachea. Kaniyo. So, respiratory infection that will lead to swelling of the inside the trachea. So, maglisod na ginhawa ang pasyente. And mura kag barking cough, dili whooping cough but barking, mura kag iro nga nagpagpot, no? And hoarse imong voice. And measles virus or respiratory route pa rin, measles. So, how to know if a person, ang bata na ay measles? Ang kwan ana is katong Koplik spots. Ako naman eh. Koplik spots. Kung pabukahon mo ang bata, daghag puti sa iyang alingag-ngag kanang sa wall sa iyang sa upper, so maraming mga white spots, that is Koplik spots pag ingon ana, meaning the baby has measles. Okay? Mumps is sinasod Bisaya oy. Kanang muborot dire, no? Kanang diri sa unsa ganina oy. Diri nga side sa atong ano. Ang problema lang sa mumps disease or respiratory mumps. Ang problema sa mumps if it infects teenager na lalaki during the puberty period, because one of the complication of the mumps is orchitis. Muna ang ginaiwasan, orchitis. Ano di naman siya. So orchitis, so meaning inflammation of the kanang ang mumps is also known as orchitis, no? Can cause orchitis, which is inflammation of the testicle. Sa male lang niya. So muna siyang iyahang uwasan kung magka-mumps niya, lalo na pag puberty stage, pag dili, pag bata pa kayo, okay lang. But during puberty, so dapat, dili gud ka magka-mumps while in puberty. So that is why children, na sila vaccination against this one, MMR, your measles, mumps, rubella. Then we have respiratory syncytial virus, so muna na siya. No? Kaya common. Then influenza viruses, A, B, C, D, di ba karon napagani daghan na kayo, no? So again, respiratory route through respiratory aerosol. So classic flu or severe respiratory tract infection. So muna siya ang cause sa influenza. Naman may kopya ni class, right? Arena, Viridae, Lassa fever, and Machupo viruses. So unsa man ang Lassa fever? Is a hemorrhagic fever. Hemorrhagic illness, no? Hemorrhagic illness. So, humans become infected with Lassa virus through exposure to food or household items contaminated with urine or feces of rodents. Kanang mga ilaga jud. no, mga rats. So usually in Africa wala ni diri sa tua. And it can also cause hemorrhagic fever, no, hemorrhagic fever. Ang macho po naman, foodborne or direct contact of virus particles, no, sa saliva, urine of ano gyapon, rats gyapon, mouse, no, or mga mouse, no. So yan. Oh, very common rhabdoviridae rabies virus, so zoonosis, saliva of infected animal. So if you are bitten of, so mabitten ka, but this one is coming from the saliva of the infected animal. It's not, kahit hindi ka masugatan, if you are licked by an animal which is infected with rabies, so pwede ka, no, maapektuhan. Na rabies is fatal, no? Kanang unsa ni? The target area of the body sa rabies virus is the brain. So ang iyaha mo adto dapat sa brain, and once in the brain, muna na siya mag-cause na siya og katong series of symptoms. So ang first ma-feel sa pasyente mo siya give flu, but that is just the initial symptoms, and then magkaroon ng weakness, fever, headaches, and it will last for days until na in the last is the person infected with rabies, mag-ano na siya, mahadlok na siya water and mag-salivation na siya. Okay? So yan. Kaya we have to kanang mag-lick-lick ang animal so dili yun siya maayo, no? And filoviridae, your Ebola, this is hemorrhagic fever, Ebola virus, diba? Ebola and Marburg, so mo ni siya. Ang iyahang cause is direct contact with infected blood or secretion. So this one was in Africa in many years, no, mga 19, there was a outbreak of Ebola virus in Africa and many died because hemorrhagic fever, no? Okay, so yan. Bunyaviridae, your encephalitis virus, so it will cause inflammation of the part of the brain. So it is transmitted through mosquito bite. Hemorrhagic fever virus, mosquito bite pa rin. Hantavirus, rodents. So yan, mga common lang, no? So yan. Edema, severe respiratory infection. Pulmonary, ang hantavirus is kasi nga, kung ma-inhale ni mo siya of rodent aerosol, so basta ma-inhale, it will affect the respiratory system. Then retroviridae, this is your HIV, types 1 and 2. We all know that it can cause your acute immunodeficiency syndrome, that's the disease. So you can get it through blood transfusion, sexual contact, or perinatal, meaning mother to child. And the human T-cell leukemia virus, so again, through blood, sexual contact, perinatal, asymptomatic leukemia. So it's leukemia. Then reoviridae, your rotavirus, so this is fecal oral, so gastro. Usually pag fecal oral sa stomach or sa digestive system ang iyahang kanang target. Then Colorado tick virus, tick bite, so mga meningitis, encephalitis, yan. Picorna, so ano siya, mga common colds, your rhino, kaya nga rhinoplasty sa ilong, so rhino, mga common colds lang. Polio, you know what's poliomyelitis, it can cause atrophy of the muscles in the area affected, meaning di na mag-function ng muscle, mugamay. Fecal oral route, but seldom, no, rare di ay. If you see a person, a bata karon nga nay polio, wala na gipa-immunize sa mama. And sala na sa mama because free ang immunization sa polio. Then ecovirus also. Coxsackie virus, so it can cause the hand, foot, and mouth disease. Then of course your hepatitis A and E, fecal oral route. So ang hepatitis B lang man tong sa carcinoma. Ang A and E, these are from food siya, contaminated food. And your rubella, this is the cause of your German measles. Then we have the Venezuelan equine encephalitis, so mga zoonosis, meaning from animals. Then flaviviridae o dengue, common dire, wala yung yellow fever sa Pilipinas, but meron tayong dengue and meron ring dumadami ang case of mosquito bite. What is the vector of dengue? Anyone? Unsay vector sa dengue? Unsay ngalan sa
Aedes
mosquito?
aegypti po, ma'am.
Oh, Aedes aegypti, mosquito. Ang malaria, ang Anopheles minimus, kani Aedes aegypti. Okay, hemorrhagic fever. So, meaning, it can cause hemorrhage, internal bleeding. So, that's the cause of death. So, ang yang cause of death usually is shock syndrome, no? No, the body goes into a shock. So, because of hemorrhagic fever. West Nile virus, hepatitis C, blood against shock, chronic, and cause of cirrhosis. That is affecting the liver, sort of cancer, but padulong. Then Norwalk virus, gastroenteritis, coronavirus. So this is where our COVID belongs. COVID-19, dire na siya sa corona. SARS, your severe acute respiratory syndrome. No? When there was an outbreak of SARS, wala jud kay tanahadlok sa Pilipinas kay wa man ta kaayo dire. Or isa lang ka pasyente coming outside the Philippines atong giniulig Pilipinas. But with coronavirus, marami ding Pilipinos ang nasawi. Okay? SARS-CoV-2 siya. No? SARS-CoV-2 is your coronavirus. So, upper respiratory tract infection. Through respiratory droplets, that is why you have to wear mask. No? So, yan. This is the COVID-19 virus. And the prions, pila po dahil ni class, delete. I think we will stop until this one. It's already 9:30. I hope kabalo ka. Dili, dyan ni mahuman o ka na ganing anak lang. Kindly turn on your cam. I will take a picture for attendance purposes. I will check it against kanina na attendance. Na picture di ay. Were you listening? Bitaw ha. Yeah. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Sige. We will have, di ba you know the, no, na ay, when do you want to have the quiz sa Quipper? Ay, kanang panguman na lang tatanan. Or you want part 1, part 2? Ready naman akong quiz. Ready na mo? Okay, so na-quiz tapos oral. Mag-oral ko sa inyo ha. Oral, so meaning face-to-face ta mag-oral. So, ang akong gihatag sa inyo ha was kani akong gidiscuss, di ba? Gihatag man ako ang PDF. Tapos, antimicrobial. Humanon ako ni siya, then I will touch the antimicrobials later. Kasi I want you to, not this one. Antibacterial agents, di ay. Dali, be. Ako'y discussion sa ay mo po dahil ni 65 pa slides mo dahil nilagay. 65 pa slides. Class, I know na murag taghan jud kaayo micro because just 3 hours kinato halos na hurot, diba? And please study all of the katong akong gidiscuss, I will ask the things that you should remember. Di man dito na ito ma-memorize tanan. Common na dapat ninyong ma-remember, ha? Kato kung gipang gipang-ingon. Okay. Siguro naman the things we discuss ninyo sa una. Kindly turn on your cam for a while, be. Katong na ay na-discuss jud to ninyo sa micro. O basig ang uban kay karon na nakadungog. Kay karon na pud minaw. So this is just a review, no, a summary, because just imagine, i-discuss nyo one sem, i-discuss na to 2 meetings, 6 hours. Iba kaya sa power, eh. Kung basahon lang nato ang slides, pa kaya siguro, lain po kayo. Lain po kayo, magbutang tag slides na ibutang na po tanan. Hindi na mo maminaw mo, kaya mag-take down notes. I hope you took down notes last kanina, no? Sige, I will not hold you longer. It's already 9:40, almost 9:40.
Hi, ma'am. May question
Yes.
po, ma'am.
Yes,
Individual ang oral, ma'am, no?
yes, individual.
Tapos, kano sa po ang quiz, ma'am, next week po?
When do you want the quiz? Wala pa
Sabay na lang sa oral, ma'am.
Ha? Sure mo?
Ikaw na.
Same day po, ma'am.
Di ba
Para
inyong quiz,
may
Kuiper?
number ang gistadihan.
Kuiper ang inyong quiz?
Ay, ang bali, ang gusto ata nila, ma'am, kay kanang oral, may mag face-to-face buntag or hapon ba, tapos gabi ang quiz po, ma'am, like taman alas 12 or 11:59. Okay lang ba, ma'am?
Ako no, mas unahon ninyo ang Kuiper kay mag-study man gyud mo. Ay mag-study ha. Kabalo ko mo open mo control F sa inyong Kuiper. Pero pag study mo, ay if you don't take my advice, kamo lang. You study and then you take the quiz, Kuiper para sa oral. Kung okay po mag-oral, okay ra jud kay kog oral kay daghan naman kay kog question diri. Pila ra gyud ka question ang sa quiz? 20? 20 na ba tong required? Pwede po ta mag 50, gusto ninyo?
Ma'am, 20 lang, ma'am, hangyo, ma'am.
Sige,
10.
20. So ang 20 na
Ma'am,
quiz, kung 20 ang quiz ninyo, nana ko dire 60 items minus 20, 40. Oh, pasok kayo na ready na yung quiz today sa. Ilang oral, ipa-explain pa mo. Para di lang mo mag-memorize, you understand. Ha? Okay? So please, all the things I gave you, please study. And please, read it in advance. Kaya para di mo magtigitag mention rin yung murag alien kay sa inyong pandong murag di po siguro, no?
Ang i-oral lang, ma'am, kay katong i-present ni mga PPT, ma'am, or whole.
Humanon sa nato siya before ta humanon sa nato ang part 2 before ta mag-oral, or what do you like? Pero next week pa ta maghuman, kalayo pa. What do you suggest? Kauna-una yan. Ha? Ilang klase? Ideally good. Oral must be individual. Individual. Sige. Di ba next week pa man atong klase again? So, kano sa ninyo gusto mag-oral? Ang katulang sa Kaya akong gihatag sa inyo ha, isabay ang class and oral, ma'am. Alay ko na to, uy. Gusto ninyo sabay ang class of oral? Hindi ko sa mga the first hour kay discuss niya man mag-oral. Gaon di good makayag 1 hour ang microgang. Kaya ninyo mag 1 hour to discuss sa micro? Murag di jud to ko mo follow up to kay murag wa man gyud ato na human di ba? Nga pinaspasay na gani. Wa na pud may mabilin sa inyong di na makas brain cell. Ay ang oral lagi, you have to understand. If you cannot answer the first question, you still have other items na pwede niyong tubagon sa oral. Pag-study jud mo. Murag yun ako requirement. Recorded video ang part 2. No, I will not do a recorded video. Di, gihapon mo ana da. Mga estudyante, tagana mo recorded video. Asa na? Wala na. Di na paminawon. Ipa-play lang na. Yan, naras kilid. I will ask you.
Ma'am,
ang
Saturday
recorded
na lang
video,
daw po.
karong Saturday ang oral. Naman may meeting gang. Taas kaya mong meeting. Alaunahan to sa orasan ni mahuman. Next week. Mabisi ba? Dili po ko katong eskwelahan sa Sabado. Oral face-to-face ba yung oral?
Gani, ma'am.
Sige, pagsabot na lang mo and then you tell me ha.
Okay po, ma'am.
Pero next Thursday is our second meeting. Second part sa tong discussion. Pwede po Saturday ang quiz, ma'am? Pwede. Sa quiz na lang sa Saturday. Sige, quiz sa Saturday. And then, sige, until 11:59 na yung quiz, no? Tama ba? Sige.
Yes, ma'am. Tama po. 11:59
Christian.
PM.
Isa by friend ako dere sa i-message ko ninyo nga i-upload na ang quiz ay encode sa paper niya siya padilya mag-upload kay maghuman sa jud ko grado ng PE mo tumbling sa jud ko grado kay og deadline na.
Okay, ma'am.
So i-message ko ninyo nga ma'am kay basig na di biyata pwede mo send og kanang order dayon kay naaray ko ng paper. Sige, so Saturday ang quiz. So para ang oral na natong problemahon. Upat bida kasi mana magkanang so ni makita kay DDS na pod after micro. Or ako gikapoy. Okay, so no more other clarification.
No, muna, ma'am.
Next time mag-discuss to you can eat if you want. Alam ko may nagkain sa inyo eh. Okay lang. Ako ang di pwede mo kaon while nag-discuss. Kamo pwede mo mukaon. Wala problema.
Okay, thank you po,
Recording
ma'am.
stopped.
Sige. So Saturday ha, remind me to encode tomorrow. Okay, so I think we'll call it a night. And I hope your brain cells remember the things we have discussed. If not 100%, maski na lang jug 25%. Elisod po kayo og below ana. Or better gani na remember ninyo is 50% and above. Okay. Okay, so let us pray. Name Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. We thank you, Lord, for this wonderful night. We thank you for the gift of knowledge, and we ask you to bless us as we go to sleep and keep us always safe. All this we ask and thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. Name Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night po.
Thank
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night,
Po, ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Good night.
Happy eating, ma'am.